Okay, back again. Can you believe we've made it to episode 7 already?
I know.
Once again, Chester is not with us. Rumor has it he has run off and married a midget.
Yep.
This is what we're hearing. It's what all the tabloids are saying.
I heard Vegas. They went to Vegas, one of those Elvis chapels, and they got married in one of those chapels.
Well, I guess if you're going to marry a midget, Vegas is the place to do it.
Yep.
So we're alone again, Hell22 and Murmaider. Had some great reviews on the site. Murmaider, I feel like we need a disclaimer every time we talk about one of your reviews. The latest one was Hinsidig.
Yep. Hinsidig is a black metal band from Norway. They sound very similar to a lot of the other Norwegian black metal bands in the recording. Very raw sound, and it was really good. Really epic album, actually. The growling was very violent, very demonic sounding. It was impressive, though, for a new band. It's good to see that there are bands still coming out with this type of music.
So it really sticks to the norm for black metal, the gritty recording.
Yeah, because I think I feel like a lot of newer black metal bands from other countries are putting out more cleaner recording, and I guess it's attracting a certain set of fans, but it's just not that original black metal sound, you know?
It attracts the people who like black metal but don't want to listen to a low fidelity recording.
Right. Yeah. But now you did a review on Nox Aurea?
Yep, this is actually one of our followers on Twitter had actually asked me to do this a while ago, and unfortunately I kind of got caught up in other stuff. But Nox Aurea is a great death doom band from Sweden. They're now on Napalm Records, which is one of those, I mean, it's in the metal world, it's about as major a metal label as you can get. Draconian is also signed to Napalm. But so it's great death doom, and I think we seem to fall into this thing now. You do a lot of black metal, I do a lot of this death doom stuff, and this is right up the same alley with Swallow the Sun, Hellevorn. It's in that same vein. The previous album, Vianosis, was excellent, but this one, the production is just so much cleaner, and I think the band really start to excel because they're not trying to do too much. They're delivering their product straightforward. A lot of double bass, a lot of great screaming, a lot of great growls, and then every now and then they just kind of slip in a little female vocal, and it kind of catches you off guard, and they don't overuse it. It's just kind of sprinkled in to just change up the pace a little bit, and I think that does them a lot of justice. The album, definitely a great album to check out. Came out last year, so check it out. It's called Ascending in Triumph. Definitely take a look for that. Murmaider, you also did another band. Once again, the disclaimer, I don't know how to pronounce this. Nimbatus?
Yep, I think it's Nimbatus. It's a one-man band from Germany.
Wow, one man? One guy does everything?
Yeah, he's from what I've read, he's written and even mixed and mastered the whole album, produced the whole thing by himself.
Wow. And
the recording was actually, it was really good. It was really good recording. I was impressed for what I was expecting, something maybe a little more low-key since it's all him, but I guess he clearly knows what he's doing. But yeah, the album was really good. It's pretty much instrumental. There's one track on there where there's a female that talks in it for a couple minutes, and it's just like spoken word, kind of eerie talking. But besides that, a lot of crazy guitar work involved, a lot of crazy bass lines, a lot of double drumming, and drum fills were really, really incredible. And then the album kind of gives you, or you could definitely tell that he was really influenced by bands like Opeth and even Porcupine Tree. There are some calm parts in it that are a little more progressive, and but it all works out really well. But it was good. I liked it. I think it's definitely deserves some attention.
It's great that he did it all himself. That's without doing it without the support of a label is it's a pretty big deal.
Yep.
Which kind of got us thinking that labels these days really have such a profound effect on the music that's coming out. And we were kind of kicking around some thoughts on how labels can be good for bands or bad. I know we were talking about tours in particular, and how we just don't understand how labels put together some of these tours. I guess they're trying to expose people to new stuff, but at the same time, sometimes the bands just don't mix. I mean, I think a good example, a show that we got to see, Catatonia, Swallow the Sun, and Orphan Land.
Yep.
3 completely different bands. I mean, I don't understand how a tour like that would actually work. I mean, obviously for us, we happen to be fans of all 3, but fans of Swallow the Sun. I mean, we heard the one girl in the crowd.
There was a girl next to me
throwing a fit.
Yep, she was upset when Catatonia came on.
Yep.
She said she didn't understand why they were with this tour and
how they get an hour and 15 and...
Yep, she was complaining about that. She actually, I think she ended up, because we were right up front, and she ended up, once Catatonia came on, she ended up walking back towards the back, and I don't know if she left or what, but she was very upset, and that pissed me off. I was like, what the fuck, how do you not like Catatonia? Like, she was going crazy for Orphan Land and Swallow the Sun. She was like in love, and then Catatonia came on, and she was just, I don't know, completely against it.
But it just, it is a weird tour to put together.
Yeah.
And we've definitely seen some very strange combinations of bands over the course of seeing shows, and you kind of wonder how that really happens, what the labels are gaining by that. I guess they must make deals to make that happen.
Yeah.
But on the whole, you think that the labels are out to make money. This is, I mean, obviously it's a business. But unfortunately, in metal in particular, metal bands aren't going to sell 500,000 copies of an album unless you're Metallica or Slayer, maybe. I don't even think Slayer breaks that these days. But so, I mean, how do you think that being on a major label affects how some of these bands do albums now?
I think that it definitely that the labels are definitely putting their input to the bands on what they think they should target their next album tours, and tweaking some of the sounds, maybe changing the band from what it was, and that's what a lot of people complain about, like how we talked about selling out and whatnot, and a lot of the underground bands are able to do what they want to do, more or less. Mm-hmm. They're not told what to do as much. I'm assuming from the smaller labels are kind of just letting them go off and do what they want. Well,
I think if you take a band like we were just talking about Nimbatus, the guy obviously is doing everything on his own. So the label really, I don't even know if he's on a label. It might just be self-released, but no one is telling him what to do. He can just kind of do his own thing.
Right.
And that way, when you get that album, you know that it was 100% his vision. This is how he wanted it. This is how he intended it to be.
Right.
Now, Opeth signed with Roadrunner for their last album, last 2 albums, excuse me. And I mean, obviously, both albums were great. I love them both, but I wonder what direction they would have gone in had it not been for Roadrunner. Zakk Wylde had Black Label Society on smaller labels for years. Mm-hmm. He gets on to Roadrunner and releases Shot to Hell, which was, I feel pretty confident saying, the worst album he's ever done.
Yeah.
So do you think that a label like Roadrunner kind of gets their finger in the mix and kind of says, well, you guys are good, but we want you to be the next Slipknot?
They might. I mean, yeah, they're one of the biggest bands, or one of the biggest labels. I'm sure they're pulling in a decent amount of money. But they're also used to marketing for other bands, or other genres, like Nickelback and other, more rock and roll and whatnot. And so they're used, I think they're used to working on changing bands to target kids or to target girls or whatever, whatever's...
I mean, maybe they sign bands like Opeth, Dream Theater, sign bands like that so they can get credibility. Look, we got we got Opeth on our label now. We're into real metal. We're not just about Slipknot, Nickelback, and
right.
I don't even know what else is on Roadrunner anymore.
Yeah.
And
then they end up suggesting, if you like Opeth, then check out Nickelback.
I mean, the tour exactly. I definitely, I feel like that would be a great combo tour. Maybe we'll see that in the near future. Roadrunner can set that up. Mm-hmm. But back to the touring aspect. A great example that I just remembered. Remember, I got a phone call the other day from a friend, call him Boobs, who wanted to know if I wanted to go see Megadeth. Obviously, I'm a Megadeth fan. I'd love to see Megadeth. Who are they touring with? They're on tour with Disturbed.
Oh, yeah.
As part of that is the Rockstar Mayhem tour this year.
Yep.
How in the world does a band like Megadeth end up on tour with Disturbed? Who Do you know anyone who says, yeah, man, some of my favorite bands, we got Megadeth, Metallica, Slayer, Disturbed? That conversation never happens.
Yeah. Even when we saw them, we worked the show for Killswitch, Lacuna Coil, and Chimera, all opened for Disturbed.
Yep. And I mean, again, maybe that's the label's attempt to get them out there. I mean, Lacuna Coil at that point was pretty popular, but they weren't playing to sold out arenas.
Right, and plus they're gothic metal.
Yep.
More, and then you have Killswitch and Chimera, who lean more towards like the heavy
chugging
hardcore,
and
you know,
almost metalcore.
Yeah, and then Disturbed as well. Disturbed.
I mean, I guess it makes sense to me for the Lacuna Coil aspect because they parade Christina Scabby out on stage, and every testosterone-fueled Disturbed fan is going like, "Oh my God, look, who is this chick?" Now, obviously, they're not lucky enough to get their picture taken with her like you did.
Yeah.
Didn't she tell you she loved you or something?
Oh yeah, she loved me. Of course she loved me.
Of course she did. But, you know, that's definitely, I mean, for a band like Chimera, I don't think Chimera's finding any fans at a Disturbed show.
Yeah.
And if they are, well, then Disturbed's probably losing fans along the way. Maybe, hey, you know what? Maybe they set up these tours because people in the world are tired of Disturbed being popular. So they figure if they march a good band out in front of them, maybe everyone will go, hey, this music I've been listening to is bullshit.
Well, you know, we've always talked about how Disturbed is one of those gateway, you know, bands, and maybe that kind of does set it up for some people. I could see some kids who are brainwashed into Disturbed, so when they go to see this show and they go early and they see, you know, Killswitch and Chimera, and then they're like, wow, this stuff's pretty heavy. Like this, I like this.
This is actually heavy.
Yeah, then they might end up branching off and saying like, oh, they might even leave before Disturbed goes on if they're dissatisfied with the bands before it, but. You know, maybe that's one way.
That's best case scenario.
Yeah,
I don't think that ever really seems to happen after Disturbed sells 10,000 T-shirts and everything else.
But, you know, maybe that's one way that it's kind of spread, you know, where people kind of start realizing what else is out there, is by these kind of weird, awkward setups for tours.
But I think that, you know, Roadrunner is the label, like you said, they're in the business of making money because they've had bands like Slipknot, Nickelback, you know, all along the way. Now you take some of the real metal labels. Let's take the ones that I can think of off the top of my head: Century Media, Nuclear Blast, and Napalm. I don't think they really give mandates to these bands. I don't think they go like, you know, Draconian, your new album's pretty good, but it needs a ballad. I don't think that's happening.
Right.
And I think that that's what is great about the metal. Maybe it is. Maybe it is happening. Maybe, you know, the guys from Century Media, you know, tell the guys, hey, we need some tits on this album or something. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the albums we've reviewed, you know, you've done a lot of some really raw black metal lately, and those guys are just doing what they love. Mm-hmm. This is 100% their vision. And I think there's, you know, something really good about that.
Yeah. Remember when Slayer did God Hates Us All? Mm-hmm. The label even made them change the cover.
Yep.
So, I mean, clearly they are taking control of certain things that the bands can and can't do. I remember that was a big discussion when Slayer wanted a bloody Bible with Slayer burnt across the front of it, and they ended up making them do those 4 crosses instead over a white background.
Yep, I mean, there's definitely a lot of censorship album cover wise. Look at the Meshuggah album, Obscene.
Oh yeah.
You know, the full picture is a lot more graphic than the condensed cover that we get in America.
Yeah, and what was even Dimmu Borgir's album? Insorte
Diablo, yeah, that's right. That's right, good point. And I think you're right, the labels have a lot to do with the album artwork. I'm sure they have final say on all of it. I mean, obviously the labels have final say on everything.
Yeah.
If, you know, Dimmu hands them an album and says, here's our album, and it's you know, them chanting, Satan, Satan, in like a kiddie voice, you know, some, I don't know, satanic pop music or something, then I'm sure the label would probably go like, hey guys, you need to get back in the studio.
Yeah.